so I can't get down. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Amanda Sandoval, and I just want City Council to be your next representative. So, a little bit about the process that I currently am in, just logistically, is I am not sworn in until next Monday morning. So for right now, during this whole entire last month, since June 4th, I have been working for the Denver Fire Department and continue to work for the Denver Fire Department. That is who is paying my salary so that I can pay for my kid's life and I pay for my life. So if you have emailed me, I just want to say I'm sorry if I have not gotten back to you. I am drowning in emails with having to set up a staff, having to support Raphael in his transition, having to take my job and get it to somewhere else, and then most importantly, doing this work, which I was elected to do. For those of you who don't know, I live in this neighborhood. I live off of 45th and Grove, and my family owned the corner of 44th and Tennyson, where that tall building is, most of my life, up until my father passed away in 2012 and sold it to that developer. So this neighborhood is near and dear to my heart, and the reason why we are having this meeting is I wanted to get a better understanding of what the community heard. I had heard from different factions of the neighborhood, and I always want to come from the standpoint of I want to gather people together, and I want to hear from the people of what your main concern is. And so when I got elected, I left town. Councilman Espinosa left town. And I called him from Washington, D.C., where my daughter had spent the last 4.5 months, and I said, this is a really pressing issue, Raphael. I need to get on top of it, and we need to do something about it. He contacted me, he put me in contact with Carl, and so this is how this has all happened. And I know we're up against the time clock, and I understand that some of you feel like this meeting should have happened sooner. But the fact of the matter is last week was the 4th of July, and I'm not going to host an important community meeting the week of the 4th of July and have people out of town. So I understand that we could do it the best that we could. And last night was Councilman Espinosa, who was representing me for the past 4 years. It was his last night on City Council. And so I needed to be respectful of that as well and let him continue to do his job and honor the work that he has done on behalf of us for the last 4 years. So thank you. For those of you who don't know, we work well together. I have worked in his office up until November, and you're going to find that I'm one of his biggest fans. And also, I'm going to push back at times, and he has the same relationship with me. He's one of my biggest fans, and we're going to push back. But at the end of the day, we welcome you here. So thank you all who flyered to get this meeting out. I couldn't do as much as I would normally have done had I not been working full-time in another job and doing this. So thank you, and I would just want to have Raphael and we want to talk about a couple different issues. We want to talk about what's called a use by right, and we want to talk about zoning and a little bit of the time frame. So
you have a microphone, we can't hear back here.
I don't. So I don't have a microphone, we don't, because the school's closed. So if you need to scoot up front, you can, but I don't have a microphone.
Can you move closer to the middle of the room so everybody can hear?
So we can move closer to the middle. So I would like Raphael to talk about the zone district, because the zoning is very important when we talk about use by right.
So this is zone UMX3. That's a mixed-use zone district. It does a lot of what you see basically on the rest of Tennyson. You have a mix of MX and MS3 with some 5, obviously. This kind of meeting is one that, I'll be honest, I have avoided from day one in my time in office. Why? Because Susan Shepard held this very same kind of meeting for the project over there at Lowell and 38. A use by right situation means that the property owner, whether it's Carl or the current one or somebody else, can do whatever they want in that zone district.
But that was a different type of meeting. Like I said, I'm going to push back.
Yeah.
That was not a historic, that did not qualify for historic status. So that's not the same type of meeting, so don't start it with the same type of meeting, because it's not. This has an application that can go historic, so
No,
please use
so
the
I-
right information.
Yes, that is,
Sorry.
she's right. So what you've got is me in transition, right? Because what the other thing you see is historically, I would be supporting applications or community effort on preservation. This property entered into a very, very niche position for me personally, which is why, where it did not essentially meet the standards that I would say I would then encumber the office in ways, and I won't go into the details, but it's politics, it's ordinance, it is money, it is time, it is transition, all factored in to this. And this was not strategic by anybody in this room, it just happened that way. But the difficulty, the thing that I want to talk about on the UMS, MX3, is it's a host of uses that are allowed here. Some of those uses are not possible because of the placement, the proximity of that site to this school, which means you can't do certain kinds of alcohol sales, marijuana, certain other things that would be allowed in other places can't happen here, which then limits its viability on a commercial front. It can be 100% residential, just like the rest of those projects on Tennessee, because the city of Denver has not ever compelled its, mixed-use zone districts to be mixed use, except for one place where we did in Jefferson Park, and the other effort that we had started in Tennessee to address that going forward on balance in Tennessee. And then, so it can be urban townhouses, it can be apartment buildings, it can be 100% commercial, it can be 1 story, it can be no stories, it can be 3 stories, it can be a drive-through. Drive-throughs allowed. It can be a whole host of things. And if the structure is not designated and there is nothing that prevents it from being demolished, it can be those things, and the city council office would never be informed of that, because they would submit for permit, they would go through review, and we're not noticed on any of that. We are in this situation because it was a demo permit that then triggered the notification requirement. And so, you won't hear myself, and I don't think you'll hear Amanda opine at all on whether we think this merits designation. Why? Because then we would put ourselves out of making that decision on your behalf.
And I just asked the city attorney that question today. So I'm in a week-long council academy right now, and we had community planning and development talk about the preservation ordinance, which this falls under, this triggered landmark review, right? And this notification came up during the council academy for the 5 new council members. And I asked, they know we're hosting this meeting, and they said that if I give an opinion, then I will have to recuse myself when and if this time comes before council. So I am not willing to do that, because I ran to represent you and be able to vote behind the dais. That's what a council person does. So you will not hear me give my opinion about that. Now, will I give other opinions? Absolutely. Will I be free to give other opinions? Absolutely. But Raphael's correct, I cannot do that.
So then 2 last things. One was, if you follow me at all, you know about the Anderson house, you know about the Lamborn house, you know about the Hoyt house. All 3 of those houses do not exist in Northwest Denver anymore. All 3 of those houses went down on landmark meetings despite unanimous recommendations by Landmark Commission. Council did not approve those landmarks. And so if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, you know in the month of May, I was posting the houses and structures that we did save, that were in this process. And it was done voluntarily by working with those property owners and those developers. I will say that we always were able to preserve those because there was an easy way out. I struggled with this property particularly because there is no easy way out. It's got a 50-foot setback So there's a whole bunch of usable land. It is a huge footprint that is really deep into the site. I tried. There are ways that I have approached possible alternatives, but it was not one of those things, because I never involved you guys as a community on those houses and structures that we saved, except for in very niche parts, and getting the right people involved in the room to save those structures. This one is not one of those. We tried this beforehand to try and reach out to the property owners to let them know that the community was going to be concerned about what they were doing. But again, it is the property owner's right to sell to whoever they want for whatever they want, whenever they want. And so back to this current situation about the use by right. You have a huge tool, right? It is the landmark designation process. But you know what you were up against previously. The council has changed. So that may change the calculus for community and developer going forward. Because we don't know, they've never voted on a designation. But in a use by right situation, anything you're asking for from that developer and things that you expressed today and your concerns, their willingness to accept them, do them, amend them, and incorporate would be 100% voluntary. There's nothing in the process that compels them to do what you're asking them to do. So I'm saying all that because I want, as much as this structure might mean something to you personally, to your community, or you're feeling like this whole area has been raked over the coals and this is our last stand, you have that designation process, but we're here to hear what it is that you would like to see, and as much as you possibly can, come from a genuine place of asking, because that's what you're doing. You are asking this developer to hear you, hear your concerns, and if possible, try to capture, incorporate, and do that thing. Because they do not have to in this process. And so
what he's saying, the Raphael whisper, like I was for 3.5 years, is if you're going to make recommendations, please be as specific as you can. So when you're talking about saving the building, do you have an idea of how we can adaptively reuse the building? When you're talking about the design of the architecture, can you give feedback on design elements such as height, such as material type, such as how many unit counts are there, such as ingress, egress from the site. So as much, and I know that's a lot of jargon, I get it. I was you one time sitting there not understanding all of these terms. But we will be walking around the room, and for those of you who need help understanding anything, please ask. Raphael's an expert, and then I'll let Carlos take over and he can introduce his team and let everybody, and Big will come back.
Is there anyone from the school that's here that can operate the HVAC system in here?
I saw it.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna go look for that person. So thank you all for being here. This is a huge and awesome turnout. We'd love to hear from you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. Can everybody hear me in the back? Okay. Thank you. I'm Carl Coble. I'm with Coble & Company. We're the developer here. Coble & Company's been since its inception in 1952. We've been developing in Denver since then, so for 67 years. And we've got a project in the community as well, just up near the Wells Cage Golf Course. We've got a representative from the ownership here as well. He's here just because he wanted to observe, though, as the entity under contract for the parcel. We will be the ones working this through the process and engaging with you guys today. So the goal of today is really, we want to get your feedback and understand your concerns and respond to any questions that you guys have about what we've proposed. We understand that there may have been some renderings that somebody put up on Denver Fugly or online. We have not released anything before. So what you're going to see is the real renderings. Anything you've seen before is not accurate of what we're looking to do. So what we're gonna put up here today is what we proposed. And again, the goal is we want your feedback. So we'll have renderings of conceptual renderings, so early stage drawings of what the project we proposed may look like. We will have a site plan of the project, which will show where the units are located on the parcel. We will have photos of other projects that we've done in the city of Denver, some of which are not very far from here. Again, what we want is feedback. And we've got sign-in sheets. I think almost everybody signed in. We really would love for you guys to sign in. We have note cards near each of the stations. We'd love to get your specific feedback on that so that we can take this back and internalize it and figure out how we're going to move going forward. This is really the beginning of a dialogue with us. It's going to be rather quick as this process works through, but that's what we're hoping that it ultimately is, which is a dialogue. So since the goal was to get as much feedback as we can, we decided that a lecture style wasn't really going to work, and we figured there would be a pretty big turnout, and we were right. So look, we're here today to catch spears, not throw them. We want to hear what your comments are. We may not be able to take those, to take everything that people suggest and do them, but we want to understand where your hot buttons are and what your concerns are. So we have 3 stations set up. I'll be up here answering questions and taking comments. Scott Komiak with our office is over there, and Peter Benson, who is back there, is over there. I think a pretty safe bet is to assume if you're wearing a tie, you're with Goldman. The only 3 that I see. So with that, we're going to sort of break into sections.
So where's the site plan?
We're going to put them up at the 3 different.
Let's go.
So the HVAC is controlled downtown, it's computer controlled, there's no override. But we're getting a couple of fans, so it might be a little bit noisy, but we'll put them out in the corner to bring some of that cold air through the space. All right?
Thanks, guys. So we'll gather around whatever station, and then we're putting the boards up and review and write comments and ask questions.
Are these yours?
No, they're not.
They're laying right here.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll set them right here then. Thanks.
I went back and forth because I heard
Right there on the side.
My kids are going to go to school here. I was a long time our neighborhood for an adjustment to what's been going on Tennessee. Sure. And we've been working well, we want to see it not purely residential. That's a huge thing. We want to see where there's a single resident purposes for one better contract and scale. And all of this is well documented.